All right, let's talk about exposure. Exposing the narcissist. I'm going to provide some food for thought. You all let me know what you think. If you're new to my page, my name is Alex. I'm a narcissistic abuse survivor, recovery coach, and licensed therapist in Virginia. If you're interested in therapy or coaching, click the link in the bio, book a session. I've heard educators talk about exposing the narcissist. I've only heard the conversation one way, though. And the conversation really is, from beginning to end, a warning for victims and survivors. Do not publicly expose the narcissist. And if you are going to publicly expose the narcissist, really think long and hard about that, because covert narcissists, especially, I feel like grandiose narcissists tell on themselves when they walk in the room. You feel them, you hear them, like it is what it is. But covert narcissists are tied to remaining hidden, right? That idealized image is very important to them. And so when there is exposure publicly, you have not only invited shame and guilt that they don't know how to process, don't want to feel. You've also now put them in a position to have to defend themselves. And there's no moral or ethical boundary they're not willing to cross, because their bottom line is going to be to silence you. They have to reverse the victim offender role, and they have to put all of the guilt and shame and blame on you. And they're often successful because they have a history of gaslighting you effectively. They've been able to effectively gaslight you. And they're going to invite their flying monkeys to do dirty work on their behalf. The goal is to isolate you, shame you, and silence you. And a lot of narcissistic abusers are successful in that. So you have to be very careful when you decide to take that on publicly, because they've done their due diligence with the smear campaign. And they have their group of enablers that are willing to help them make sure that you're silenced and you go away and you don't tell the truth about them. You can never establish credibility because they've already gotten ahead of you. Okay? So, but I know that victims and survivors don't want to feel defeated. That almost feels defeating, right? So there's nothing I can do. You got to get out of the mindset of trying to get revenge, right? Because publicly exposing is almost akin to trying to get revenge. And this is the thing. I'm not trying to discourage you all. If you have thought about it and you feel that's what's best for you, go for it. Because at the end of the day, an abuser should really consider how they treat people if they don't want their reputation to be tarnished. I guess they wouldn't be an abuser if they thought about it. But you know what I mean. This is the thing, though. I feel like the best way to expose a covert narcissist is to simply play the long game. You got to play the long game, because their entire game is powered by plausible deniability. Okay? And because they've been so successful previously at being able to silence victims, not allow victims to be able to establish credibility, they've gotten really good. They're well rehearsed at this point. I can guarantee no victim has played the long game with them. Because, and this is the thing, when you play the long game, they get cocky, okay? They think that they've done their due diligence in destabilizing you, which is why I say, yes, they might manipulate your feelings, but it is so important for you to have a strong mind. Because in time, your wise mind is going to kick in and you're going to start putting shit together. You may not have the names, the terminology, the understanding of the pathology, but you know this shit ain't right, and you're going to start putting it together. You're going to go back. You're going to look at patterns of behavior. You're going to be able to start to predict what their bottom line is, what their drivers are, what they're trying to do to you, what they're trying to maintain and preserve. You're going to see that. You're also going to start seeing their insecurities. It's inevitable, okay? They get cocky, and when they get cocky, they get sloppy. And that's when they really underestimate you, and you see the mask slip big time. No, you see the mask fall off, okay? They know that you know who they are, all right? And eventually, in time, the two worlds are going to collide. These are the people who are living double lives. They're going to fuck up. They always fuck up. They're human. We're human. We're fallible creatures. They're going to fuck up. And their two worlds are going to collide. And this is where victims often mess up. They feel like they have to defend themselves. They feel like they have to justify and explain themselves. If you've done that, that's fine. Get quiet. Get quiet and just sit back, okay? Because you've already let them know that you know who they are, okay? They can't stand to be around you. They try to destabilize you and gaslight you back into submission so that they don't have to see that reflected in you anymore. When you know who they are, everything changes. Your feelings may still be very hurt. You may be deeply attached to the situation and even attached to your narcissistic abuser. But something changes in that dynamic. You don't look at them the same way. You can't forget what they've done. You can't unsee who they are. And they know that. They're very well aware of that. And at their core, because they're so insecure, they're paranoid. They're fucking paranoid. So when you've cracked the mask, when you're a part of that whole scene and you've cracked the mask, they now think that other people see them the way that you do. Okay? So eventually, over time, even if it looks to you that they're able to put that mask back on and hop back to their life, they suffered no consequences, internally, that's not what's going on. They're now paranoid as fuck, okay? But because they don't know how to regulate themselves, because they're delusional, because they have to do all of these mental gymnastics to make sense of their world, they're not going to be able to keep that up. It's going to become exhausting to them. And that mask is going to fall all the way off. And everyone who has supported them, everyone who believed them, will be exposed to the monster with whom you were dealing underneath that mask. They're going to see it. But it's the long game. I know you all want justice and karma immediately, but that's not how it quite works. Let the two worlds collide. And then just sit back. You have cracked the mask. It'll never fit the same way. It'll never look the same way. And that's when all of the self-sabotaging behaviors will escalate. The mask will come off and they will just assume the position of the monster. Okay? And everyone will see what you've been saying in time. In time. That's how you expose a narcissist.